Welcome back to page 121. Today we're going to take a look at Module N1, Against the Cult of the Reptile God by Douglas Niles. This guy is from 1982, and the party has to go in and save the village of Orlane. It is dying. Mysterious forces are at work. Could you stand against the cult of the Reptile God? Fair warning, if you have not read this module in the 40 plus years since it was published, I'm going to be giving up spoilers, so if you want these to all be surprises, turn off now. But I will show the front and the back of the module. There's the back. And it's funny, this got a little notch in it that I didn't remember it having. This is a copy I got from a buddy of mine as he exited D&D. He was in love and was no longer going to be wasting his time on silly games, so he sold me a lot of his D&D stuff. I actually think he gave me this. But in any case, this is from 1982. I got it when it was new, and I really like this module. So we're going to take a look. What I loved about these old modules, the gatefold, there's your map of the village of Orlane right there inside. That was very sweet because you had the opportunity to lay this out separate, and the players could look at it as they wandered around the village, and then you as a DM, when you're reading this, it gives you an opportunity to read the map as you go through. So we go to the Cult of the Reptile God. This is an adventure for character levels 1 through 3. So 1, 2, or 3 in here. This is a really tough adventure for 1st through 3rd level characters. Here we get the setup. The introduction tells us all about D&D and the NPCs, what the abbreviations for the various NPCs mean. And then we get the DM's background. The border between Grand March and the Kingdom of Keelland has been peaceful for many years. In the western section of this frontier, the stagnant bogs and slime-coated pools of the Rushmores occupy much of an otherwise fertile plain. And north of the marsh, the dark recesses of the dim forest. And Orlane has recently cut a caravan track through the dim forest and was thriving. There was trade coming through, caravans coming through, everything was good. And then suddenly people started disappearing. And the people that came back after a week or two seemed different, I don't know, just like something had changed with them. Well, the problem is you're dealing with a cult. And the cult of the Reptile God is being spread by a spirit naga. And the spirit naga is the big snake thing with the human face. And this one has charm and is charming a bunch of people, and the charm is permanent. So they're kidnapping people, bring them to the spirit naga. The naga charms them, and then they go back to town to recruit more and more. The naga has visions of just building up this massive following in this area. So it's more than just the village of Orlane that's in trouble. It can be a lot of other places nearby. We get some rumors, which I used to like a lot in early adventures. I still like them. They pop up now and again. And then begin the adventure, we get a little read on how you walk into Orlane. And Orlane seemed like a friendly village when you saw it from the hill, but once you get down there, the people are kind of closed off and nervous. Each of these, the key to Orlane, each of these areas in the village has a write-up. One of the things I love about this module, if you're tired of the village of Hamlet, you can use the village of Orlane. This has a lot of detail. And I have used this village many, many times. I just changed the name of it and plop it in a different section of Greyhawk, and off I go. My players rarely, if ever, have noticed. I've run this actual adventure a few times too, but I've actually used the village of Orlane many, many times. And in fact, the reason I'm doing this video is the game I'm doing tonight, that is the day of my filming of this, is I'm going to be running this adventure, putting my players through it. I'm pretty excited about that because none of the players that are currently at my table have ever been through this. Craig played with us in the early 80s, but Craig played with us only at a club he and I belonged to, and I ran this outside of the club. So Craig has never had an opportunity to have me run this, and nobody else, I haven't run this adventure probably in 35 years. So nobody else has played it either. So I'm pretty excited about this tonight. And because my players watch my channel, I can't do anything like this before we play it because they'll see it and they'll know all the answers. So guys, looking forward to tonight's game. And this is what you're in. So here we get the nice locations as I showed on the map. We get the pleasant farmhouse and barn, constable quarters. Wait a minute, the constable is a cult member. I like that each of these are flagged. If you run into a cult member, you can know it there and you can role play it. There's a ton of role playing in this adventure because you're dealing with the cult members. You're trying to figure out who is a cult member, who is not a cult member. So then you get to an empty barracks, a dairy farm, weaver's house and shop, the Golden Grain Inn, and then there's a key for the Golden Grain Inn in a little bit, a jeweler and money changer, and none of these guys are cult members. We get to a livery stable, run-down structure, and this guy's kind of surly, but he's not a cult member, he's just a jerk. And then we go to a small cottage. There are 2 elves working in the town. Oh my gosh, those people are mysterious. They must be behind our problem. No, they've been called here by the mayor. They're old adventuring companions of his, and he wants them to help out to find out what's going on. So the players have an opportunity to actually get these guys on their side. The first of them, Dorlin, is a fighter magic user, third, and Llewellyn is a fighter thief of second. So both these guys would be handy to have in your corner. Armor class -2 on the fighter MU, 13 hit points, and the fighter thief is armor class 5 with 10 hit points. So they've got some bonuses to hit, so it's pretty good. And then we get there's a letter here from the mayor asking them could they please come help out. And we come to the mayor's house, and the mayor everybody's polite and curious with strangers, but he knows something's going on, so he's not going to be real open. So a lot of role playing in this. You get to the tailor shop, the village store, and there are cult members that are running the village store. Wow, markup like you won't believe. And they're going to be surly, and after a while, once you have been in town for a little bit, you're going to find that the cult members, by and large, are largely lacking in social graces. We get to a rundown farmhouse, again, cult members, carpenter's shop, cult members, blacksmith shop, cult members. So they're all over the place. About half the town has been taken at this point. Some of the people left and came back a week or 2 later. In fact, they were kidnapped, brought to the Naga, charmed, and if the charm stuck, they were sent back. If the charm didn't stick, they were fed to critters that live in the swampy area the Gator's in, or the Naga is in, so kind of neat. We have a battered and weather-beaten structure. This used to be the Foaming Mug Inn. It's been abandoned for a while, except it's not really abandoned. There's troglodytes down in the basement. I love troglodytes. I'm going to do a video on them. Those used to be one of my go-tos at 2 hit dice plus the Stinky Stink. Troglodytes are a lot of fun. We get a decrepit farmhouse and collapsed barn. Farmhouse and barn with cult members in it. Farmhouse with several small outbuildings. And you get the idea. So there's cult members all over the place. And then you have a ranger here who's 4th level. He's retired from adventuring with his wife. And his wife was a 3rd level fighter. So they're raising their kids. They're prosperous because they've had their adventuring money and they're actually very good at running their farm. So kind of a neat twist there. So there's another guy you could recruit to your side. And then Inn of the Slumbering Serpent. This is kind of the money. The Inn of the Slumbering Serpent is where all the... this is the good place. I'm sorry. The Inn of the Slumbering Serpent is okay. It's the Golden Grain Inn is one of the headquarters of the cult activities. So here we get the rest of the village laid out. And we get to meet a wizard, Ramney, who has a familiar named Whiskers. Whiskers is a weasel. And Ramney is older, but he is still a 7th level magic user. So the module itself builds in a little bit of help. If you're 1st through 3rd and this is just too much for you, you can take this gentleman along with you if you can convince him that you're working on the side of the good guys, which isn't all that hard to do. So we go to the Golden Grain Inn, and we get the common area, the kitchen. I love inns that are fleshed out, whether they're good or bad. This one, of course, is the cult activity, but the inns are so much fun to use for other things. Here we have player characters being kidnapped by the cult members. And then we get a complete layout of the inn itself, what the cult members will try to do. If you stay in the inn, they'll wait until wee hours of the morning. They'll put a silence on a coin, toss that in the room, and then come in and attack you. Pretty good plan, actually. As I said, 1st through 3rd, this would be a tough module. I've run it, and it's not done. The players have have had kind of a hard time. Lots of clues around here. You get the Naga statue down here. You get lots of clues of what's going on. We have the Temple of Marika. Marika is a benign goddess, a good goddess actually, who is worshipped in the town of Orlane, except of course the priests that have been running the temple have been subverted by the Naga, and now they are working for the cult of the reptile god. So this is kind of the center of the cult here in the temple, the former temple of Marika. Interesting, I don't remember Marika and anything else. I should actually take a look at that. We get a dungeon level going beneath the, this is under the swamp. This is the cellar. This goes under the swamp. You get out to the swamp and you actually find a dungeon dug into the mud, which is kind of interesting. And all places are slimy and falling down, and you can have mud land on you and possibly be buried alive. It's a dangerous place. And then we get the Golden Grain Inn and the Inn of the Slumbering Serpent. Again, I've used this module just for the inns and the temple, the city itself. It's very handy for that. Okay, so we get a nice look at the Temple of Marika. And this can be a dungeon crawl all by itself as you go through the temple. And then cult members, as cult activity as time passes. So this is giving us an idea. If the party members have been kidnapped, what happens to them? They go before the Naga. If they're charmed, then they get returned as members of the cult. If they don't, they get fed to the animals living in the swamp area. And here we get the area map of where this exactly is in Greyhawk. So there's Bissell there, Grand March. Hocock is near, and Orlane is right there. So the caravan trail they cuts through this arm of the Dim Forest up to Hook Hill. But if you deviate this way into the Rushmores, that's where the cult headquarters are. And now we get the Dungeon of the Reptile God. We get to the lair, and we get to the dungeon itself. And as I said, the dungeon is cut out of swamp, so it's muddy and falling down. I have used it in the past, but it didn't make a lot of sense. This thing was made entirely of swamp mud, and it was underground, so I had it be an old dwarven delving that the monsters had taken over. So we get various cult members we have to fight. Very early D&D flavor to this part of it. You're just going room to room fighting stuff. Some stuff gets summoned if they hear the combat going on. Lots of stuff. Lots of combat in here. You actually get to encounter a white in here at one point, which I think it's a white. It's pretty scary. It's got energy drain. I'm thinking, wow, I do not want to throw something with energy drain against a first or a second level, even a third level group. That's pretty brutal. But it's in here. As I said, this is a tough dungeon. There's a harpy in here, which also quite a challenge for first through third level. And then the Troglodyte's guard room. And the module makes a point of saying, because Orlane is such a small town, and if, at the time, the training rules were official rules that people used, you could not level up as you went through this adventure, because you would have to go to a larger town and do training and level up. By the time you came back, the cult would have spread and things like that. So the idea that you could get stronger as you go through, no, you can get some magic items and such, but you actually couldn't level up until you left, trained, and came back. Again, makes this quite a challenge. And we have a coffer corpse in there, which is always scary. We have some mud traps. We have areas where you can sink. And then we have the throne room of Explictica Dephilus. That is the name of our Naga. And we have the Naga's abilities. And, we have a Bone Snapper. I love Bone Snappers. They're a great little monster out of Fiend Folio. I think Fiend Folio or MM2. I forget off the top of my head. So then we get the Naga, and you get that final fight. Keeping in mind, the Naga, if you've made it this far, is 9 hit dice, AC 4, attacks for a bite, 1 to 3 damage plus poison, and can charm. So it's really scary. And then we have the pre-rolled character list, and then further adventures that you could do in the area, which is always very helpful. I like that they shrunk down. By 82, they had shrunk down the area that the pre-rolled character list took up. Those used to take up 2 to 4 pages in modules, and in this case, it's just this one little section here, and then the starting equipment. So I like that they started shrinking that down. But there you have it. That's just a real quick look at one of the better Greyhawk modules, in my opinion. against the Cult of the Reptile God. I've always enjoyed this. I'm looking forward to running it again. As I was pulling this out to read it in preparation for my game, and when I realized that nobody currently playing in my game has ever run this with me, with the possible exception of my wife. Jerry, my wife, was my girlfriend, and we dated, and then we married many years ago. So it's very possible that I did run this, that she was in it, but I'll have to ask her when we start playing. So there you have it. That's just a quick look at Module N1 by Douglas Niles, Against the Cult of the Reptile God. Completely recommend it. Great sandbox, great role-playing, multi-night game. There's no way this would be a one-nighter. That's not going to be a one-nighter for us. It's going to be multi-nights. And this is a great way to start out a new group if you want to do lower-level characters or brand-new characters. If it was brand-new characters, I'd weaken it a little bit. Troglodytes are quite a challenge for first-level characters. But first through third, if this module is if anything, is a little hard. So it's going to be interesting to see how my players react to this. And then when they find out that this is going to be the video the day after they play in it, which will be tomorrow, this is going to be Friday's video. It's going to be interesting to see how they respond to that. But there you have it. That's all I've got for today on page 121. I thank you for your time. Thanks for watching. Anybody who left me get well messages, I appreciate it. I am better than I was. I was dealing with a multi-day migraine that leveled me, and I'm feeling much, much better. So thank you for all the good wishes I got. And I'm looking forward to playing this tonight. And please remember the Patreon, leave comments below, and I'll see you next time on page 121.